Number one, we're going to start the meeting with, I need a motion for a waiver of formalities. Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Number two, the superintendent's report. Dr. Steinhoff would like me to notify the public that there is no superintendent's report today due to the changes that came out from the state of Pennsylvania. It has changed everything that was within the superintendent's report, so there is none as of now. Number four is announcements for the public. On 8/5 as well as tonight 8/10, the board met in an executive session to discuss personnel and litigation matters. Number three, comments by members of the, number four, comments by members of the board. Based on today's guidelines that came out by the Department of Education, item 8.03 is going to be removed from the board agenda and not be voted upon. Guidelines released today supersede the agenda item, and therefore it will be removed. Do I have a motion to remove agenda item 8.03 from the agenda?
Second.
Questions or comments?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. As a result of removal of that item, Pimco School District is proceeding forward with plan to open in a hybrid model, which as of this evening is in compliance with the state guidelines set forth today. As we know, that can unfortunately change at a moment's notice. If there's a change, any motion would be publicly discussed and voted upon at a regularly scheduled meeting or a special meeting. Please stay tuned to our website and your email for updates from our superintendent. Number 6 is item for board information. See none. Items for board discussion are none as well. Number 7, public comments. Public comments will be taken through the raise hand motion for agenda items only.
Mr. Zebley, let me know who you would like to address the board.
Christina Johnson has her hand raised.
Ms. Johnson, you're permitted to talk.
Hi, thank you for meeting. I'm just curious which board members, if you could raise your hand, are in the same room right now. The reason I'm asking is it looks like a lot of you are in the same room not wearing a mask or putting it on, taking it off. So I'm curious how this would be addressed when the children are in class asked to wear a mask the entire time. How can we make sure that that protocol is followed? Again, it's hard to tell who's in the same room. I can see different backgrounds for some people, but being in the school district room in the past where the meetings are, it looks like there's 3 or 4 in the same room without a mask on. And I'm curious if this is a safe procedure for you to show our children how to interact.
Ms. Johnson, I'm not in that room, but it is my understanding, first and foremost, how aside from the assumption that the school board is subject to the same health and safety issues that the back to school safety model is an incorrect assumption. That being said, it is my understanding that those members that are in the room are at least 6 feet apart from each other. And in the event they are not, or they wish to, they are and or will wear a mask if they are within 6 feet of each other. Thank you.
I didn't know if you could see them from your location, Mr. Pupio. Thank you.
I cannot see them, but the advice that was provided and asked for prior to during the executive session was that they should be 6 feet apart, and that in the event they are not, they should wear a mask. In previous board meetings that have taken place where board members are in a central location in other districts, the feedback from the public has been that it has been extremely difficult for the public to hear and or participate in the meetings with board members being masked and their audio being challenged. So that is one of the things that was discussed with the board members in the executive session. Thank you.
There are no other attendees with the hand raised.
I see, Mr.
Jamie
Zebley, I do see Jamie Tanner. And
Okay, thank you. So I guess the question I have is, how do we expect our children to be able to listen and hear the teacher if the teacher is required to have a mask on the entire time? If you're saying that in this same room, and if they're in a Zoom meeting, that participants are not able to hear one another, how do we expect our students to be able to hear from the teacher and learn properly if the teacher and the students are all required to wear a mask throughout the day?
Ma'am, that's not a topic on the agenda. It is very, it is understandable, and the premise of your question is made by the fact that you asked it.
Correct, but it
thank you.
was stated that the reason they didn't have a mask on is because it was difficult for people to hear. So I guess my question is, if school's going to a hybrid, how is my child supposed to learn? How's my child going to hear if you're stating that board members not wearing a mask as long as they're 6 feet apart, that people are saying that it's hard or difficult to hear?
I'm indicating to you that the requirements and the state guidelines that will be put into place for your children, for any child of the Pendoco School District, should the parents choose to, at this point in time, as a hybrid model is offered, that if the children came to school, that would be a requirement. If that is something that you as a family determined was problematic for your children, you would have the option to enroll virtually. And if I did not explain that appropriately, Dr. Steinhoff, if you could aid me in that assistance.
sure, Mr. Pupio, yes, as a practical matter, students who come to school, whose parents choose to send them under the hybrid model, will be expected to wear a mask. We certainly see in our profession, other schools that have opened, where teachers wear masks and students wear masks, and they are able to communicate. Thank you. Mr. Zebley?
Dr. Steinhoff, the next attendee with the hand raised is Jennifer Day.
Yes, hi, Ms. Day, you are free to talk.
Hi, I just wanted to clarify from tonight's meeting, are you saying that as of tonight, we are going back to the original hybrid model based on today's recent guidelines that were put out?
Ms. Day, there has been no change in the board's position since official board position since the last vote that took place, which was to approve the health and safety plan and proceed forward with the hybrid model. The guidelines that were put forth earlier this morning place the County of Delaware squarely within the state guidelines that it is permissible for the board to pursue a hybrid option, which the board has previously voted upon. So as of this evening, there is no change. There has been no change in the board policy. The board voted, I don't have the exact date in front of me, to approve the health and safety plan and proceed with a hybrid model. And as of this evening, the guidelines that the state has set forth, Pendoco School District is within those guidelines.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to clarify because of the email we received last week about the virtual model, but that was just a recommendation from last week. So as of tonight, we're staying with the hybrid model. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Day.
The next attendee is Brenda, SHQW.
Brenda, you're available to address the board. Right now, your monitor indicates that you are muted, okay? This does not want to speak to the board. Next, Mr. Zeblin.
McGovern.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you. So I just want to clarify, I didn't have my agenda pulled up right away. The agenda item that was removed, was that the one proposing a new plan? So given the new guidelines, Mr. Steinhoff, is Mr. Steinhoff changing his recommendation to be fully virtual because of the new guidelines? And that's why that item was removed from the agenda?
Correct.
The data today that was released by the state superseded the recommendation or any data that was going to be considered and discussed. Obviously, and very unfortunately, everyone knows these things can change on a moment's notice. And at 9 o'clock today, there was a rumor that this data was going to be released. And right around 10 or 11 o'clock, it was. In conversations with Dr. Steinhoff and the board president, it was clear that the recommendations that Dr. Steinhoff may have made were altered by this guidance. That does not mean that there will not be new guidance issued by either the Chester County Health Department, acting as the agent for the Delaware County Health Department, or that the state, or that Dr. Steinhoff, based upon additional data, will not have a further recommendation. But as of this evening, Pendelco is squarely within the guidelines that the state put forward to continue with their plan for a hybrid model.
Thank you, Mr. Pupio. That's very helpful.
The next attendee with the hand raised is Joanne Bangbos.
Joanne's banner.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
I think some of my questions may have been answered because it was really, was confused by the email last week. So can you just maybe bullet the multiple options that we have for options for going back to school, virtual, hybrid, a brief description of what each means? And then one follow-up question to that is, are there any face-to-face options, whether it's through Zoom, for any of the options? I'm really confused what our options are at this point.
So Joanna, I'll chime in there. That would be a question for the last at the end of the meeting for public comments, being it's not an agenda item. I will tell you that at the current time there will be a virtual option as well as a blended option. If the district is required to go to a fully virtual due to new data, which may come out tomorrow, it may come out next week, or we're not quite sure, then things would change. But we could I could leave Dr. Steinhoff to give you a little bit more insight on that as well.
Okay.
This might be a little bit better question for a personal email or something of that nature. But we will offer a fully virtual option as well as the blended.
Okay. So I don't mean to. This is asking genuinely, not to be rude. I don't understand where it's appropriate to ask now versus later, and how to understand that agenda, because it seemed like everybody was just asking and talking about it a minute ago, and
I
you told me
totally
to-
understand.
Okay,
The beginning of the agenda is supposed to be for agenda items only. And then we have a little bit longer section at the end of the agenda for public comments due to residents and comments that aren't agenda items.
okay, I'm confused as how that's not an agenda item when we just said that you were going forward with the hybrid option, and I was asking for clarity. But we can save it to the end in a personal email if that's the case. I'm not looking, I just was confused and still confused, but we can follow up
We'll
individually.
most certainly make sure you get that information.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We have time for one more.
Next attendee with their hand raised is Dottie, D-O-T-T-I.
If it's not urgent, honey, please, come on.
Hello, everyone. I'll be very
Okay.
brief for you.
Patty, you're live?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for all your time and extra work and efforts through all this. I know it's frustrating on your end. My question is, I have a high school senior, and his recommendation from his doctor is for the first barking period to do virtual learning because he has chronic persistent asthma. Where do I go to sign up for that? I have communicated with both the school's principals in the last week.
I'm sorry, Dottie, if you could tell me the question again?
So due to my son having chronic asthma, recommendation from his physician is to do virtual learning for the first marking period.
Mhm.
I've communicated with Mr. Paleckis and with Dr. Giles today. Fortunately, he only needs 2.5 credits for graduation. Where do I go to sign up since you're now still pursuing the hybrid model? I do not see information for signing up for virtual on your website.
Sure. And so when you spoke, you said you did speak to the administrators today?
Yes, I did speak with Dr. Giles today to review his schedule, who was wonderful, by the way. Spoke with Mr. Paleckis about a week and a half ago about our concern with that. So I just want to make sure that he's steered into going to, unfortunately, virtual, just until we get a,
Totally understand. Totally understand. What, just send me an email to my attention and I will get you to the right party for that.
Okay, thank you for your help. And once again, everyone, thank you so much. I know how frustrating this is for all of you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Steinhoff. So number 8 is items for board action. Starts on page 2 and ends on page 2. References the Penducco budget 2021, Act 93 plan, PDEA agreement, PDESPA agreement, PDSSPA agreement, and the PA School Code section 1108B. It is administrative recommendation to approve all personnel items as presented. Do I have this motion?
So moved.
Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 8.04 is virtual learning furlough notification. Motion to approve the recommendation pursuant to the board policy 3.1 or 311 to furlough support staff in accordance with board policy for lack of work due to virtual learning if needed. Do I have this motion?
Second.
Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 8.05 is Go Guardian with Beacon proposal. Motion is to extend our contract with Go Guardian to cover all K-12 devices, such as Chromebooks, with the additional Beacon for the 2020-2021 school year as presented. Do I have this motion?
So moved.
Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item agenda number 9 is comments by members of the public. This section of the agenda is limited to 3 minutes per attendee and up to 1/2 hour. If you'd like to speak, please raise your hand and we will let you into the meeting in order.
An attendee with their hand raised next in the line is Pamela Morelli.
Good evening. How are you?
Good evening.
I just wanted to know how we would go about signing up for virtual, and then when we're ready for them to come back to school, being able to re-enroll them. My son is in 2nd grade at Pennell. He has chronic asthma, and they're saying that as long as I'm also a teacher in a neighboring district, as long as I'm out, to keep him out, just to keep him regular with his breathing, and then when I go back, to be able to send him back. So is there an option to do virtual for a short period of time and then be able to send him back in, Dr. Steinhoff? I'm not sure if we're going to get notification on that. I'm sorry if this is a repetitive question.
No, that you don't have to apologize at all. This is very frustrating for parents, for residents, for staff, for superintendents, for board members, for solicitors. You know, I've indicated several times that the situation is very fluid and that it could change. And I've often even said that, you know, the caveat to all this is if school districts ever actually do get guidance that actually has some beef, it could change the suppositions that board members and superintendents are being asked to make. So, you know, last week we did indicate that more information would come out about Pendelco Cyber, which would be the ability for your child to use Pendelco Cyber so they could maintain virtual learning at home. That was certainly, you know, put on hold pending tonight's meeting. And then, of course, today, on August 10th, 11/22, the state gives us guidance, which would indicate that the school district now, according to the Department of Health and Department of Education, can adequately offer blended learning or virtual learning. And both of those options will be offered. So this week, and for anyone who was part of this call, we will go back to our trajectory and our plans that we had all along, which is to push out information about what will a hybrid model look like, what are expected for parents, and also to go back to our process of putting forward opportunities for Pendelco Cyber, which enables parents to have their students taught by Pendelco teachers and still stay home. And if their parents make that decision that they do not want to put kids back into the building, despite the fact that the school district can move forward with a hybrid option, we've always said we do not want to get into debate of what's right or wrong for your child. Parents know best. So we will provide that option for parents. Parents will be able to send their children to school under a hybrid option. Parents will be able to have their students educated by Pendelco teachers under a Pendelco Cyber option. And there's been a little confusion. You know, we've talked about Pendelco Cyber versus Pendelco Online Academy. And again, you know, I want to stress, I want to thank parents for their patience when they have kind of some questions about, well, what's the difference between Pendelco Cyber, what's Pendelco? Pendelco Online Academy has been in place for a couple years. And that was for parents who wanted their children to have access to coursework separate. It was kind of a competitive product to Pendelco's, to cyber schools that were available. Parents wanted a Pendelco education. They wanted a Sun Valley diploma. So we offered that. Because this year's different from so many other years, we changed it to Pendelco Cyber, meaning this is the year where you, or at any period of time, you want your child to learn from home because you're not comfortable sending them to schools in a hybrid model during a pandemic. That's Pendelco Cyber, is that we're going to be there to provide that for you. And we will ask that parents enroll their students for one marking period. And at the change in the marking period, parents say, this hasn't worked out. You know, I want to send my kid back, put them in a hybrid, then we'll make those accommodations for you. So, and all that'll be done, again, through the Skyward system. Information will be sent out, plenty of it posted online. All the principals as well will be able to support you in the process.
Okay, so I should be getting in touch with Mr. Light for Pennell.
Yep.
Okay.
And I would just give them a couple of days this week as that information comes out to parents.
Yeah, absolutely. I teach in a neighboring district, so I completely understand the back and forth, and I don't know how any of you are doing it as board members and administrators. I'm very happy to be a teacher instead of in a position where I have to make these decisions. So I will be in touch with him about what to do for the time that I'm out, because we currently have a date of going back. So I would just want him to be on cyber until I go back.
I understand. And you know, we expect that there will be 500, 1,000 different examples, and they're all legitimate. and they're all challenges that parents have to work through. And what I've pledged is we're gonna do our best to be as flexible as we can and as responsive as we can. What has been really super challenging is the fact that our credibility starts to get chipped away at, because we do not have firm guidance that we have been asking for. We are not public health experts. And you see more and more districts having to go back. They vote to go hybrid, then they vote to go virtual, then they go the other way. And it's symptomatic of lack of direction. School districts should not be in this position, and parents should not be in this position. These are decisions, public health decisions that should have been made for school districts. But anyway, thank you for your patience, Pam.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Steinhoff. I greatly appreciate it. And I totally agree with you. I wish we had some kind of federal guidance. I think it would be a whole lot easier on parents, teachers, and especially you guys as board members and administration. So thank you.
You're welcome. I should note, we did receive it today. And
right.
Some of the topics that otherwise we've been explored and discussed changed dramatically. We have been saying we have been waiting for firm guidance from the Department of Health, and that was issued today. And our organizations are still looking through that to make sure that we're going to implement that and comply with that guidance.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Pamela.
The next attendee with their hand raised is Scott Tam, S-C-O-T-T-A-M.
Go ahead, Scott. Oh, there we go. Scott, you're on, but you're currently muted. Scott?
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, perfect. I appreciate that you're taking the time to pause and review the information from the state. I agree that these are public health decisions that should be made, but I do think it is important and it is within your purview to be thinking about contingency plans. Many of our families are working families and they need to prepare for either option, whether it be the hybrid option or whether it be the complete virtual option. And so I would hope that those plans are being thought out and can be shared with families so that we can begin to prepare for what that will look like for our students.
Thank you very much for your comment. We are currently going day by day and going by our recommendation by the state at this point. And parents will be the first to know as if anything changes.
Now, I understand that there might be changes, but I think what we are craving and what parents are most concerned and upset about is that we don't know what those contingency plans are. That's what we need to know. So I need to know, okay, my kids are going to be learning from home on Tuesday, Friday, or if they're home 5 days a week, do they need to be Zooming in on Tuesday, Friday? Those are the specific details that parents are craving.
Sure, I understand completely. And Mr. Kamick has been working with the administrators to put together those details and what the hybrid would look like. What does the virtual look like? Again, we didn't want to push out information that was only going to change. And I'm not going to do that with speculative, but now we will be able to show you what the expectations are for the students who will come on a certain hybrid day versus what would the expectations be if it was under a virtual learning format and under Pendelco Cyber. So, we have that ready to go. Some of that information has been posted online and it'll be reactivated. And we appreciate folks' patience. We understand that we're about 4 weeks out now and parents need some certainty in all this. And again, we wish that we could have had this, 4 to 6 weeks ago. We're going to respond appropriately, do the right thing by students and staff, and we'll get that information out to you over the course of this week.
The next attendee with the hand raised is O'Donnell family.
Hi, can you hear me?
Sure can.
Just wondering if there's any change or impact to the sports schedules for the fall or the summer workouts and camps, things like that.
Yeah, PIAA has pushed back the start of the season by 2 weeks, and school districts are still able to continue with the summer conditioning plans. I believe that it will be August 21st that another PIAA meeting will be taking place. We are waiting for guidance, just like athletic directors and administrators and parents and student athletes around the state. We're aware of the governor's recommendation. We're also aware of PIAA's interpretation of that recommendation, and we're hoping for some finality on that August 21st meeting or from some governmental agency so that we can make sure that we're responding appropriately. At the moment, we are permitted to allow the students to continue the summer conditioning activities that they've done so far ahead of the fall sports season, but we know very well that the fall sports season remains a question mark at this time.
Okay, that was it.
Okay, thank you.
There are a few attendees that still have their hand raised from the previous comment section. The first being Christina Johnson.
Okay.
I'd like to respectfully ask for this meeting to not adjourn after the timeline, being that it is a little bit different now. Parents might have more questions, and being that it was a little bit late to start. So there might be some people, I'm just speaking for others. I would like to know when we would expect to see this meeting. I'm sure there are a lot of people who are going to have a lot of questions who may not have been here. And I do understand there was a technical glitch from the July 29th meeting, but I do have a concern with how quickly meetings are available for the public to see, and also the accuracy of the minutes. A lot of times the minutes state that there was a comment and it states the person's name, but not their actual comment. And one of the meetings, it said to see the attached comments, but there was no attached comments in the minutes. So my question is, how can we be more transparent as a school board? And I would like a school board to answer, please.
Well, the minutes, Ms. Johnson, are
Mr. Pupio, Mr. Pupio, this is a question.
No, you're incorrect, ma'am. I don't mean to argue with you, and I don't mean to sound strident, but the minutes of a school board are set forth in the state code. They are required. Pendelco complies with the minutes that are set forth in almost every document that I have seen.
Can I ask why the comments? Excuse me, sir. This is my time. Can I ask why the comments are not there?
It is not your time if you're going to state incorrect things.
I'm asking why the minutes.
From a legal process, the minutes comply. There is a very limited requirement that has to be set forth. With regard to your other question, I would defer to Dr. Steinhoff as to when the meetings and things of that sort will be required.
If I could explain myself, the minutes list address and name, but they do not state what the comment was made. And if you're saying that that is illegal, that's all that's required, but you're just saying that a comment does not need to specify what the comment is, just the person's name?
Specifically, ma'am, what it should say, it should generally discuss a topic. And if it, for example, Christina Johnson, if that is your first name, that's what it says on the box that I'm seeing, ma'am. Ms. Christina Johnson, address number blank, reopening of school, if that was the topic that you wanted to say. If it does not say that, ma'am, you are correct. And as a school board, when there happens to be a moment or the administration has some times, I would say to you, ma'am, you are correct. If that is indeed the case.
Thank you.
And it should be amended at that point in time.
Thank you.
But in general, it's not a verbatim. It is not a verbatim. The minutes are not a verbatim transaction of the meeting.
Understandable. When someone submits something in writing and asks for it to be added to the minutes, and that part that was submitted in writing is not part of the minutes, is that an accurate reflection of the comments that are being made?
That's a question I don't have an answer to off the top of my head. And I would not want to misstate a fact. That would be something that I could take a look into obtain your email from Dr. Steinhoff or Mr. Zebley, and with the board's permission, provide you with an answer, ma'am.
Thank you. I'm just curious if the board would be interested in live streaming these very important meetings. A lot of school districts do it immediately to their YouTube page, or they make them available within 12. I know that council meetings, they're available within like, a half hour from when they're actually occurring. If the board would consider that, that would probably help with a lot of parents who are, or residents who are unable to stay up to speed with the meetings. Thank you.
And ma'am, I sincerely apologize if my tone has been stern, and I did not mean to cut you off.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
With the guidance that came forward today, and that everybody is on pins and needles, I guess I overreacted to what I thought was a question that the board is trying to hide something or do something behind anyone's back. I fully support within the guidance and the guidelines of the law for the maximum amount of transparency that should take place on a matter like this. And I apologize, ma'am.
I appreciate that.
The next attendee with their hand raised is Dottie.
I apologize. I must have clicked that by accident. Dr. Steinhoff helped me.
Okay.
The next attendee is Joanne Bangbos again.
So same question. And then you threw in academy and cyber school. So can we list what the, or state what the options are? I understand that you don't have all the facts to give us right now, and there'll be communication to come in the coming future. I understand that, and I understand things are fluid. But as someone made a point earlier, it's the not having at least a shell of a plan A, plan B, plan C. I understand you never want to push information out as factual, and anything is willing to change at any moment. But can we at least have a general idea of what our 3 or 4 options are come whatever that first day of school is?
Yes, we had discussed when the board approved the original hybrid plan for reopening is hybrid education for students 2 days a week.
Okay.
And then those students who are not receiving education in person, since it's essentially each group is split in half so that we can properly social distance, those students will be able to learn from home. Parents who do not want their students to attend any in-person learning but do want live instruction will be able to apply for Pendelco Cyber. So that option will give parents the ability for their children to learn virtually. That information will be reactivated on our webpage tomorrow. And you'll have the ability to have your child attend in-person instruction if you would like the hybrid version, or for the 20% that would have indicated they have a preference of doing just at-home learning, then that option will be there under Pendelco Cyber.
Okay, so restate. Options are hybrid or cyber with actual instruction, like where they will be interacting with a teacher.
Correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Attendee with their hand raised is Beth McClure.
Hi, can you hear me? Okay. To go along with that last question, I know that you just said that all the information will be posted tomorrow for the cyber option. I would like to know, does that go into depth of how it will be, such as timing with a live instruction? Also, it's been stated in the past 2 other virtual board meetings that there will be meetings for children with special needs, IEPs, and 504s. Can you give a timeline as to when that will happen? Because I already know that I have asked for one since my child is going from Pennell to Northley, and I need to understand what accommodations will be made for him because he's already struggled so far. And that will definitely help my decision, even though I think I already know what I want to do, but I just need more information, and I want to know how clear and transparent and when this information will be posted. Thank you.
Sure. So I just saw the letter that special education will be sending out to parents of any students with special needs, and that will be sent out, I would imagine, in the next 2 days. So just looked at that. I just want to remind parents that we were ready to roll on this schedule essentially right up to the middle of last week. And again, that those things changed as a result of this guidance that came out today. So we'll see what the at-home education will look like. You will see the information for Pendelco Cyber. We will also communicate the FAQ nights, the kind of town hall nights for where parents can ask our special educators information about what this will look like and what impact it will have on your child. We initially had talked about that being the date of the 18th. Again, what we did not want to do was go forward with talking about a model that might not comport with what the board has approved. And now that we have that, and we have this knowledge that we can move forward with what the board has approved previously, which was the hybrid model, things will be able to fall in place. And we also recognize that for parents, the sooner the better. But this is something that we recognize we're down to about 4 weeks. Parents need some assurances and they want some comfort, and you deserve that. So, I'll make sure that my administration pushes out those specific dates and times tomorrow. I'll ask Mr. Kaminka if he could chime in right now. And I know you have been putting together some of the information for our packets for what hybrid learning will look like, what virtual learning looks like, what we have in the Pendelco Cyber package. And please share anything that I've missed at this time.
Yes, thanks, Dr. Sonov. Yeah, you've summed it up very well. I'll just speak more of the hybrid. Seems to be some questions around that. In the plan that you'll see coming out tomorrow, they'll be reactivated. It'll talk about what days and what students go based on the alphabet of their last name. So you'll be able to see that information, as well as you'll start to get a picture of what it will look like for secondary and elementary students. That's a document that we're working on, and we'll have out very soon. We'll have example schedules of what that would look like for the secondary level. To give you an idea, it would be, when the students were not at school and it was their day to be home, they'd be able to live stream into the classroom to receive that instruction by our own staff and teachers. Elementary will look different based in that developmental, due to the developmental age of the students, but we will definitely take advantage of the time we have our students in person around EL in our core subject areas for sure. And they will have a blend of some asynchronous opportunities as well for students. So that's kind of like that hybrid model. And the idea would be for the students who selected the full-time cyber option at the elementary level, we're going to take a look at our staffing needs and staffing abilities, take a look at freeing up our own Pendelco teachers at the elementary level to create virtual teachers across the district for each grade level. So again, and that would be a live synchronous format as well.
So I appreciate your answers. I really do. And I know that this is new territory for everybody right now, but when you get to the secondary levels, such as middle school and high school, and you have specialized teachers, like a teacher that is a science teacher versus a teacher that is an English teacher, how will those things be handled depending on the staff? And I'm hoping that this information will come out when you release it, which would be great. I think my largest concern is more of the special needs and how that is handled. Because if they're not in school and they can't meet with their case manager or their guidance counselor, like I know just from my experience for the past 6 years, I know what I need to do on my own, and the help that I have received from Pennell and the Pennell staff has been amazing. And I just want to make sure that gets transferred properly to Northley, which I'm sure it will. But I think there's a lot of parents that have kids that have these certain types of needs, and that will certainly help make the decision easier. Also, I do not want to throw a negative term or turn this negative, but how many times are we going to flip flop between hybrid and cyber or cyber only? Like, I think we probably at this point, since school starts in less than a month, we might want to just choose maybe cyber just to be safe, see how it goes for a month. I know many parents, many teachers, everybody want to go back to school, see each other, all this stuff, but that's a lot of flip-flopping on a parent schedules, kids schedules, things of that nature. I guess one of my concerns is like, why continue to make it flip-floppy, even with the government guidelines? Why can't we just make a solid decision and see how that goes for a little bit of time? You may not be able to answer that, totally understand. Just a question I had.
Thank you, Beth.
Thank you.
Mr.
The
Debley,
next
you look-
attendee is S. Sharp.
Ms. Sharp, you're up.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Sherry Sharp, Lee Lane, Aston, 27-year teacher in the Pendelco schools. Right now, we're trying to prepare for children. I know that the guidance has changed, and I know that it could change again on a dime. But what hasn't changed is that being in our schools is still presenting a considerable risk to students and staff. While we now can stay open for hybrid learning, we also can choose if we need to or want to go virtually, as the last caller said. We might never know if we do that and we've done too much, but we will know all too soon if we haven't done enough. We are fearful, and we don't believe in acceptable risk where children are involved. We will do our very best if we come back, but I need for everyone to know that we are very afraid, and it's not because we are lazy. It is not because we don't want to try. It's because we're very scared out of love and respect for our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sharp.
Next attendee is Paula Tenero.
Hi, my question is, you keep saying that the changes were made based on standards that you were given today by the state. Can you explain exactly what it is that you were told, or how can the public get that information?
So if you look, I'm not sure if you have access to the comment. If you go to www.education.pa.gov, the new released information today was out. And I would like to make a comment that we have not changed anything. We did vote on the blended option a few weeks back. I believe it was 3 weeks ago tonight, if I'm not mistaken. We tabled the fact that the recommendation could possibly have been to move to all virtual, given the information that was put out today.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Steinoff, Michael, or Mr. Pupio, comments just for the panelists. Is that something, Dr. Steinoff, you post onto our website?
Sure. Yep. So I'm hearing Mr. Tinsley ask for a more visible link to the state guidance that everyone has been begging for and waiting for. The metrics that came out did indicate what counties could do with regards to the positivity rates, the number of new cases, and they're good for that. And it also indicated where Delaware County, Chester County, Montgomery County, all the counties throughout the state sit. So yes, Mr. Tinsley, we will post that because that is a public document that can be found at the PDE website. Thank you.
The hell did he say? PA education.
The next attendee is Courtney.
Hello. For the families that had already decided to do cyber and enrolled on Wednesday, will we have to re-enroll, or will that enrollment carry over when it reopens tomorrow?
Eric, I want to make sure that I'm accurate on that. What is the plan with Mr. Gorniak and accepting those?
You would not have to re-enroll. We're good. We captured all that information, so we have that.
Okay, thank you.
The next attendee is Kate Bigelow.
Hi, I just wanted to thank everybody. I know as a mom of 3 school-age children, the emotions that I've gone through in the past couple of months, and I can't imagine making those decisions for 4,000 students. Just as a comment to another attendee who seems insistent upon having the board meetings immediately on a YouTube channel, I do just want to clarify that the recordings are not intended to be an official record, and that the meetings are recorded as a service to the community, correct?
Ms. Bigelow, I'm not sure I understand the question, and I jumped in because I would think that the answer may have a legal ramification. So
okay, no problem.
May I ask you to state that again so I can properly
Sure, no
understand
problem.
that, ma'am?
It seems that other people are very interested in having these meetings available as soon as possible. And we recognize that you have a lot of other things going on and a lot of planning going on. I just wanted to clarify, I was a district administrator in another school district, and I know that this is a service to the community to make those recordings available. And I just wanted to clarify that they're not in these, the recordings that are put out are not intended to be an official record, and that the meetings are recorded as a service to the community.
I would say the answer to that is twofold, ma'am. Non-COVID, with the guidance that was previously provided, there was no requirement at all there is no requirement to broadcast a meeting, whether it is an audio or video of any meeting at all. So different districts throughout the Commonwealth do different things, and different districts in Delaware County do different things. With the change to and the limitation of public members, of the public to congregate indoors at whatever that number was, the law was changed to indicate that if a district were to hold virtual meetings, that the appropriate method for them to take public comment would be a method such as this. But I would say the answer to your question is you are correct. This is not, in non-COVID times, official actions take place at the meeting, and a recording of such is not necessarily an official document. Although it certainly would be used if there were a question in an evidentiary matter, it certainly would be used as evidence of same. But the actual official record of a meeting are the minutes that are kept.
Perfect. Thank you. And again, I appreciate everybody.
Next attendee is Sue Fee Schaefer.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So I had a question. Now that we're looking at the hybrid model, I read through the draft of the safety plan, and I had a few questions when thinking about the hybrid model. It detailed how someone who, either staff or student or a teacher who were showing signs or symptoms or didn't feel well, it detailed how that would be handled in the school. What I'm wondering is, and I did not see this in the plan, will everyone be made aware that there are positive cases, if there are positive cases? And also, I wonder if the district has thought about access to getting tested, because I know from experience this has been an issue in getting access to a test. So I'm wondering if those things were considered or talked about, and if they were in the plan, I apologize, but I did not see that.
No problem. With respect to access to tests, that's a general conversation that I and all my colleagues in the county have been raising with the county health departments. That's a critical issue right now. Is that we need to make it easier for people to have tests, and we need to get the results faster. So, we are hearing from some folks who have had tests, and they're saying it could take 8 days, it could take 12 days. We understand also that backlog has gotten better. So we're hopeful of that. So if we can participate in that as a county to try to facilitate the opportunity for people to get tests easier, we would certainly be happy to do that. The other issue that you had referred to, which is, will parents be notified, under what circumstances? So when we've talked to Chester County Health Department about that, the answer I continue to get is it depends. So it doesn't matter, what circumstance I give. So we say, so what happens? Take me through the steps that we have to follow as a school district. So if we find out that there's a person who may be COVID-19 positive or possibly COVID-19, we contact the Chester County Health Department as we're required to do. Chester County Health Department comes back, gives us direction. That could involve contact tracing at that time. Our school nurse is the primary individual who would maintain that point of contact. And then we notify people who may have been in contact with that student. So, again, a lot of it depends. I have a tough time because I'm the kind of person, I want to see the flow chart. So if this happens, then what happens? And every time I go down those flow charts with all these scenarios, you get, well, it depends. Was this person, did they have a mask on? Of course they had to have a mask on. They were in school. So, but I understand the Chester County Health Department has explained it to us in many, many different options. They show you how it could absolutely depend on what individuals may have been implicated by a positive virus.
Okay.
We are not in the business of not partnering with parents. That's just not, I understand as a parent what I would want to know. I understand that the last thing is try to say that an environment is different than what it is. So we will be as transparent as we possibly can be at all times and still honor the privacy concerns that certain individuals may have.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I appreciate that you have always been very transparent about the situations at school, in my experience. And I also wanted to start out to say thank you all for all of your hard work. It is very difficult and a frustrating situation for everyone, and we appreciate your work. And I also wanted to say, if Ms. Sharp is still online, thank you very much, Ms. Sharp, and we do appreciate all of the teachers, and we appreciate the difficult situation they are in as well.
Without a doubt, great point. Thank you, Ms. Sharp.
Thank you, Steve. At this time, we're going to end the public comment section. If anyone has an additional comment that they would like to address with the board and or Dr. Steinhoff, feel free to email us and we will get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you everyone for your participation. Comments by members of the board? Anyone? All right. Number 11 is future meetings. Future meetings, we are making a change to this. Please make note to the public. We will advertise as well. Next week, the original meeting plan was for Wednesday, August 19th. That will be moved to Thursday, August 20th. My apologies. I will be on a pre-scheduled vacation from a while ago, and it was very necessary to be at that meeting. So we're going to move it till Thursday night, August 20th at 7:30. That will be a Zoom, as well as Wednesday, August 26th will be the regular monthly board meeting at 7:30. Please keep track of our website, district website, as well as your email, as Dr. Steinhoff will be pushing out a whole lot of information. Any changes will be coming. Any need for an emergency meeting, board members are available, and proper protocol will be followed. Motion for adjournment. Thank you, everyone.